Perfect. So these are the two chappies who will be hosting it for you today. Obviously, I'll give you a quick intro. I'm Alex Booth. I'm the Business Development Manager here at Climber. I've been working in sort of data analytics space for around a decade, which does sound quite long given my age. And this is my first ever co-hosted webinar, so please do go easy on me. The chap who's going to be mainly delivering the majority of this session is Gareth Wilson, who's a senior consultant here at Climber. He's been working in the data and BI space for just over a decade across multiple tools and numerous different platforms. He's also a keen golfer, and he recently achieved his first ever hole-in-one. So if there's anybody in the room who likes golf, then I'm sure he'd be happy to share that picture with you. If you could just jump over for us, Gareth. So run through the agenda today. We'll keep it nice and short. We've got quite a lot to cover in terms of, I think, 3 or 4 demos of different use cases and scenarios with the Power Platform. But before we get into the fun stuff, Gareth's going to give us an overview of what actually is the Power Platform, what makes it up of its components, and how obviously you guys in the business can use it to solve use cases and problems across different business areas. Gareth will then go into a demo around sort of manual processes and how those processes can be automated. And then, as I say, there'll be a Q&A section at the end of this for some demos. So I think that's pretty much all from me at the moment, Gareth, if you want to jump on.
Thank you for that introduction, Alex. So I'll move on to just explaining a little bit about what the platform is, for those of you who've not seen it before. So Power Platform is a low-code, no-code development environment to be able to develop applications for your business processes. So there's 4 main aspects to Power Platform. We've got the Power Apps and Pages, Power Virtual Agents, Power BI, and Power Automate. So today we're going to concentrate on the Power Apps, Power Automate, and a little bit of the Power BI side. But the Power Virtual Agents, we're not going to touch on that today, but if you've ever interacted with a little pop-up box saying, do you want to chat on a website, chances are you've interacted with the Power Agent. So it enables you to build AI chatbots, which can route people's queries and calls throughout an organization. So Power Apps is low-code, no-code ability to drag and drop objects to build an application just like you would a PowerPoint presentation. And the Power Automate is for shuttling the data from those Power Apps to various different systems. So it could be some legacy systems or some core systems that you've already got, or via Office 365 to notify people that something has happened within a Power App. Underneath all of those, you can see here, we've got the AI Builder. So I don't know if people are aware of Microsoft partnership with ChatGTP, and they're now using the GTP technology for their own AI offering, which is Copilot. Part of that offering is to use Copilot in all of their services to enable you to use natural language tools to actually build some of this stuff. So you can ask it to add a text box to a Power App, and it will go away and do all the necessary things to do that. We've got the Dataverse. So imagine the Dataverse again is like a no-code, low-code version of SQL Server, and so it's a very simple way of building the tables that are required to hold the data from the Power Apps. The data connectors, so there's thousands and thousands of pre-built connectors that Power Automate can use to connect to all of your various systems that you've got within your business. And then the management tools, so it's Microsoft, it's all fully integrated into AD, so you can use your AD groups and your AD management tools to assign permissions to either apps themselves or parts of apps, so you can actually go into subparts of apps and assign different permissions in there as well.
Just before you jump on to the next slide, Gareth, on the no-code stuff, I did have a customer last week sort of ask me around does the code exist? Is the code available? What does no code actually mean in the grand scheme of things?
Absolutely. So I didn't touch on that bit. So right at the bottom on the left-hand side, it said code first. So the Power Platform actually builds on the ASP.NET offering. So any of those that are attending that are old enough to remember the old .NET apps in C#. We used to use code first to build the applications and then use HTML to build the front end as well. You can still access that. So the Power Platform is Microsoft's next generation version of that. You can still access the code and you can build the code in the background if you want to, but the new interface that the Power Platform gives you makes it much easier and much faster to build applications rather than debugging lines and reams of code.
Yes, it's basically building the code in sort of best practice way, and then you can go in there and have a look under the hood, see what's going on, see what it's doing, and if you're happy with it, you can just leave it be, but the code still exists.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. Cheers, thank you.
So we'll go through the three aspects we're going to touch on today. So Power App. So what is Power App? So it's a browser-based application that allows you to build apps just by using a drag and drop interface. So, and the very funky GIF that's on this slide, you can see somebody is building an application by just dragging and dropping things just like you would in a PowerPoint presentation, dragging and dropping objects, and then using the properties of those objects to assign specific functions to what they want that object to do. Microsoft categorized Power Apps into two different types of apps. So we have model-driven apps. So model-driven apps are very basic apps. So you kind of build from the ground up. So if you have a certain reporting requirement, for example, you can build your Dataverse table with all the necessary information and fields in that table, and then build a model-driven app very quickly. It's basically just a form that sits over the top of that table, and then publish that to users, and they can start using that and turn it around really quickly. It's limited in what it can do, as you can imagine, because it's very basic, but it's a very quick way of getting an application in front of users. Next, we have the Canvas apps. So in the GIF that you can see here, this is a Canvas app. So we generally start with the look and feel of the app, what we want the app to look like, and then work backwards. So a top-down approach. So then what do we need? What tables do we need? What data do we need to support that application to work as we want it to function as we want it to function? Next, we have Power Automate. So Power Automate sits in the background of your Power Apps, and it can shuttle data to and from different systems between Power Apps and different core systems that you've got. It can also provide ways of sending notifications to people or triggering other APIs. So in an example that we've got later on, there's a third-party SMS provider. So we send the message to the third-party SMS provider, and they then send that SMS to people's mobile phones. There's thousands of different pre-built connectors. The one that you can see here in the picture is the SAP connector, and this comes as a template from Microsoft already built. So I'm taking SAP as an example. We know anybody who's used SAP will know that there's normally 3 or 4 different screens that you have to go into to create a purchase order, like in this example. Whereas what we can do is we can pull that data out of the SAP system, put it in an easy to use one screen, do whatever edits or setups that we need to do, or create a new purchase order. Once we click save, that will trigger a Power Automate flow, which will then push that data back into the SAP system. Next, we have Power BI. So I'm sure most people know what Power BI is or have seen Power BI before. So it's just a business intelligence platform where we can pull the data from our Power Apps, so from the Dataverse, and we can start to do reporting, visualizations, and advanced analytics over the top of the data that we've collated from our applications. So why use the Power Platform? So unlocking the value of low code, the business benefits of the Power Platform is application modernization. I'm sure everybody's come across in a business somewhere, there's an old application that sat there that some developer created many moons ago. Nobody dare touch it, and it serves its purpose, but it's unsupported. So what we can do is we can take the core functionality of that and replicate that very quickly in Power Apps and give it a nice, fresh 21st century interface. Extend core systems. So as I touched on before, we could take, we all know, or I certainly have experience of, if you want a customization in a core system such as SAP, it can be extremely expensive and take a very long time for that customization to happen. Whereas with the Power Apps, we can pull the data out, we can build an application that does that process, and then we can push the data back into. So very quickly we can extend the functionality without having to modify the core system itself. Accelerate app development. So as you saw there, it's very easy to just drag and drop objects into your applications, build a little bit of code on the background to save the data, put a flow over the top of it to connect to your core system, and away you go. Excuse me. Integrate and extend with AI. So the data is saved in the Dataverse. It all exists in the Microsoft, in your own Microsoft Azure tenant. So if you wanted to then pass that data across to Azure's AI services, Microsoft make it very easy and very simple to do. Enhance the employee experience. So the Power Platform is fully integrated with Office 365. So we can send alerts, Teams messages from Power Apps into any Office 365 tool. Empower departments. So a lot of the time, departments will come to an IT person or a business analyst to gather some requirements, and then there's a whole to and from place. And normally, we always get that some things get lost in translation before something's being built, and then we have to go back and re-engineer it. Whereas with the Power Platform, it's so simple and so easy to use. We can actually train somebody up within the department who has all that business knowledge already for their specific part of the business, and they can start building applications themselves to automate any processes that they've got, all while keeping full governance, because IT still have full oversight over what is being built. Optimize with hyper automation, so we can use any business processes that we've got. I'm sure people have seen business processes before, and we'll see a few today, where it doesn't quite justify an investment to build something that will automate the process. Whereas with Power Apps, because it's so quick and easy to build an application, there is that justification to then automate the process rather than sending Word and Excel files to one another via email. And lastly, secure with ease. So yeah, the Microsoft is Microsoft. It's all integrated with Active Directory, so you can easily use Active Directory groups and user accounts to manage the access level that people get to the apps that you build. So Power Apps picks up where other solutions fall short. So I touched on that before. We have got many different core systems or processes that We need to automate. We look at off-the-shelf products. Off-the-shelf products don't quite do what we want them to do, so they either need some customization, or we buy an off-the-shelf product and only use 10% of it to serve a certain purpose. We don't need to do that. With Power Apps, we can build the app, customize the app specific to the business process, and then we can shuttle the data that it does, that the Power App creates between the core systems using Power Automate. And then creating a unified employee interaction experience. So we'll see this in the demo, but we can create a Power App suite. So instead of an employee coming on board and then going into an LMS system and then doing training or shadowing somebody to do training on all the different core systems that exist within a business, we can actually create a Power App suite where the look and feel and the interaction is all very familiar between one app and the other. So we just do that onboarding piece once, and then the Power Apps is the only interaction that the employees ever have with any of these core systems. So on this diagram, you can see we've got the Power App suite that saves all the data into the Dataverse. Power Automate will push it into the core systems, and then we use Power BI for the analytics over the top.
Cool.
So live demos,
Just before
always
you
fun.
The demos, Gareth, I'm just going to quickly raise a poll. So I have to launch it. It doesn't actually pop up. So hopefully everyone can see a quick poll that's just popped up in regards to if there's any use cases for Power Platform within your business. If anybody could sort of give us some feedback on that, and then I'll let Gareth jump straight into the demos.
Thanks, Alex. So our first demo is a new employee process. So in a business, we had a new employee starts within the business. They get their account set up, and then somebody from HR or finance sends them the new employee form. This is an Excel form that they fill in, then attach it to an email, send that email to HR and finance, wait until they open it, and then HR or finance will spend time manually inputting that data into a core system. Very time-consuming, lengthy process, and very poor data governance and security over the top. So how can Power Apps automate that process? So here we have a Power App that is a new employee form. It goes and gets data, it automatically gets the data from Active Directory, so IT have already set me up, so it will always get, you'll get that new employee data into there, and then I can fill this form out with my PII information. It's saved into the Dataverse securely, but then triggers Power Automate flows to save that data into the core systems. So I
just on that, I think the poll covered over the webinar, so hopefully everyone can see the webinar again now. It covered the entire screen, so they couldn't see your last slide, but I think everyone's back now, so that's good for you to carry on and continue. Sorry, Gareth.
Shall I just go over the last two slides again?
Yeah, if you could. Yeah, if that's all right.
No problem.
I think this first slide here, no one saw that one, so.
Okay. Yeah. So I talked through it. So I briefly talked through it. New employee process. An Excel file is sent to the new employee. They fill that out and then email it to the HR and the finance department to get their pay information and their HR information into the core systems. Manual process takes a long time. A Power Automate, Power Platform, we have a Power App that pulls some of the information already from Active Directory, saves the data securely in Dataverse, but then triggers Power Automate integrations to send that data to the core systems as well. And all we do with the Office 365 is notify the HR and finance departments that the data has now been added to those core systems. So I'll do it live. So this is our Climber link. This is where we were talking about that application gateway, a central hub for employees to come in and then access the various different apps from that hub. So from here, I'm going to click on Thrive, which is the employee hub. And you can see I've got various different options within Thrive, such as I can view a hierarchy, which can be pulled down from my Active Directory, so I can see where I sit within the business. But for now, I'm going to click on the new employee form. So there you can see it's already pulled my employee ID, my first name, last name, email address, and my photo that has already been added by IT. So I'll just quickly fill this out.
Is this where you tell everyone your age, Gareth?
No. I'm going to choose something random now you've said that, Alex. I can't possibly be that old. Yep, so we get date pickers to add dates in there, random national insurance number, and passport number, emergency contact. Same address. And then once I'm happy with all my data, I can click submit. And the employee's been added. So the data has not only been saved into the database, it's also been pushed across to the core systems as well. So the ROI on that, you get an efficiency boost. Power Apps is streamlining those onboarding tasks. You get data security, so the PII information being on a spreadsheet in inbox for years or whatever. You can ensure that that data is stored securely and removed based on whatever retention policies you've got. And then an enhanced experience. So the first port of call that employees had is via an app rather than a hastily put together spreadsheet. And this, we're using a new employee as an example here, but this could be a new supplier as well. So the number of times I've just received a Word document or an Excel document to fill in as a new supplier, and you may be putting some, quite sensitive information in there, but it's being shuttled across via email between the two companies.
And also, just on that, before you jump ahead, Gareth, so if, say, for instance, you've sent that to a new employee, they filled it out wrong, rather than them keep filling out it multiple times, is there any way to sort of validate that submission so that before it maybe goes to the Dataverse and starts touching those other systems, there's some sort of intervention or manual confirmation of the data?
Absolutely. So I'll touch on the next example, the next demonstration that I've got is will touch better on the data validation piece, but we can add all manner of data validation into the application before the data is able to be submitted.
Perfect. And then just one quick question we've got on that as well around the validation, and as mentioned, you'll touch on the next one. But in regards to sort of confirming a specific format, so a length of numbers, whether it's say a mobile phone number, passport number, anything like that, if they're missing a digit and things like that, can you set those parameters in a field?
Absolutely, yes, you can. I actually removed it in the example so I could quickly type something out for the webinar. But yeah, absolutely, you can put any sort of validation on what's being inputted into the field. You can, and then you can do validation at different stages. So in a moment, we'll do the validation at the submit stage, but you can actually, once you've inputted data into a field and then you come out of that field, you can actually trigger validation at that point, so an employee doesn't get all the way down a form and then realize that they've put something in wrong. It can validate on the fly, sort of thing.
Cool, thank
you. So the next demo is master data management. Yeah, I used to work at a large retailer, and this is very similar to some of the processes that they had. We got a new product form, so a buyer or an assistant buyer would fill in the new product form, and this form was huge. It was a huge Excel spreadsheet with lots and lots and lots of fields to fill in. That form would then be emailed to various people about in the business, and then it would be offered up for, for manual input into various different systems, different core systems. The problem we've got here is we've got time for that person to actually input it. So if this person inputs it straight away, whereas the last person decides to do it on their to-do list at the end of the day, then you're not going to have synchronization between these systems. You also have the issue of, are they going to input the data exactly the same between themselves? So how can Power Automate change that? So here we have a product master data application. And what we can do before we submit the data to our core systems, we have our data validation piece, which will prevent any data getting down to the core systems that they can't accept. So we'll stop that failed integration piece, which can cause lots of problems in the morning. The data database, so that's, again, it's all there and freely available to the rest of the Power Apps suite. And then we use Power Automate integrations again to send that data into the core systems. Also, we can send that data from the Dataverse into our data warehouse. In this case, I've got a Fabric Lakehouse, and we can then use Power BI to do reporting on that data. But we can also use Power BI inside our applications as well. So if we've spent lots and lots of time building Power BI dashboards and we want to bring some of that information into our Power Apps, instead of reinventing the wheel and going through it, the whole thing again, and bringing the data into the Dataverse, we can actually embed the Power BI products directly into the applications themselves. So I'll just demonstrate that. So you see, I'm still on the Thrive. Click on Return to Employee Hub, and what we've done is we've created this icon that the users know they can click on that anywhere, and it'll always take them back to the application gateway. So next I click on Next, which is our master data management app. And you can see I've got 3 different options in here: add a new SKU, update the existing one, or the price book, which is to view information about the products that we sell. Click on add a new SKU, and then just bear with me while I fill this out.
I thought you were going to say just adding
then. So this product master data is already saved in the Dataverse. So again, it's available for all of the apps to use. Put go live date of today. We can do validation straight away in this app. So I can put a retail price of $450, but a cost price of $400, and instantly it'll tell me you're about to list this product at a gross margin of 11%. I can add a picture in there. My laptop behaves. And then we have a number of checkboxes here. So each one of these can trigger its own Power Automate flow. So if I click list on website, list on Amazon, list on eBay, those automate flows will then be triggered to automatically list them on those third-party marketplaces and their own company website. Click add to planogram, which means it will be listed in the retail store, and then I can select which planogram number that's going to be on. When I click submit, I'm going to get an error. So it's a business-wide agreement that the gross margin for our product should be 20%. So what this is doing is it's saying you need to acknowledge that you're going to list this item at a gross margin of less than the 20% agreed 20%. It'll still let me list the product, but obviously this is logged and saved. It knows that I listed the product at that price, and now I've got to defend why I did that. Click no, and then I can change the retail price to a much healthier 27%. I'll then click submit again. Now that validation is passed, but there's another piece of validation in here as well. So it's telling me that the description that I've added here, Shannon and Shovel, as an invalid character that SAP cannot accept. So it's refusing to save this data and pass this data on to other core systems because it knows that the integration will then fail and nothing will work because the special character cannot be accepted. So I can quickly go in and change that.
I know you mentioned in there you're listing this on eBay. I mean, I use eBay quite a lot, and a lot of these third-party marketplaces, you could be looking at an item on there, and you look at the seller, and you see it's Argos or Homebase or Wix, and you think, well, why is it not in their store? Why am I buying it from them through eBay? And obviously, it's an untapped market for them, really, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, I think a lot of retailers have come to accept if you can't beat them, join them. So very difficult to go up against the might of Amazon. So a lot of companies have started listing the products on the third-party marketplaces as well. Click submit on there, and it should tell me it's successfully added my new SKU. So return on investment, again, we've got efficiency gains on there because it's streamlining the master data management tasks, reducing the manual effort, and improving the accuracy of the data. So we know all our systems are always aligned with each other. Cost effectiveness, yeah, we've reduced the need for that manual data entry and reduced the operational expenses because we no longer get those failed integrations and those 2 a.m. phone calls to IT to say that something's fell over and something's not working right. So that feeds back into the data integrity. We can ensure that all our systems have got the right data at the right time. Next, we got the uniform ordering process. So this was a very manual process. An employee would need to order some new uniform, write what uniform they needed to order on carbon copy paper, stick that in the internal mail. That would eventually get to the procurement team. The procurement team would then email their line manager for approval for that uniform. Once they've got the approval, they would then telephone the supplier to order the uniform and then dispatch it to the employee.
I'm still amazed with businesses using that carbon copy paper. I mean, I think I hired a van a couple of months ago, and the guy comes out and walks around with a clipboard and circles bits on it, and you get a copy and they keep a copy, and a copy goes in archive. And then you think, well, surely this could be on, I mean, I think maybe there's places that do it on tablets and stuff, but it is still quite alien to see people using it.
Yeah, and one of those manual circling processes we'll touch on in the next demo. But yeah, you would be surprised. I don't think the guys that are making carbon copy paper are going to go out of business anytime soon.
Yeah.
So the uniform ordering process. This is how we changed that and automated it using Power Platform. So the employee comes into the Polo app. Orders their uniform, so they build a shopping cart and then submit it, and then that data gets saved into the Dataverse. Power Automate triggers. It will send a notification to their approval manager. They'll just get a button in an email or a Teams message or both to approve or deny the request. Once it's approved, Power Automate will then trigger, send a notification to the employee that ordered the uniform, but also send an email. And this could be even EDI, an EDI job, or an API call, but in this case it sends an email to order the uniform from the supplier. So much slicker process. So again, click Apollo app, and you can see I've got order new kit here. Click on order new kit. And again, you can see that integration happening because I filled out that new employee form and it's integrated with AD. It already knows who I am and what my location is. And then it gives me all the different pieces of uniform that I can order. So I'm going to click a hat and a hard hat. Click on save. That'll give me my basket. So are you sure you want to order this, the quantity and the cost? Click submit. And then it'll tell me that I placed it. Thank you for placing my order. Now what we should see, and we may have to come back to it, what we should see is a notification in the bottom, which is an email message to say that the uniform's been ordered. I'm also set up as my own approval manager, so we should see, it may take a few minutes for it to come through, but we should see the request for the approval come through onto my email as well. And then we can click on the button and approve the order. So you can see there, yeah, the request has been received. So it's now, so that's the notification to me to tell me that my request has been received and it's being processed. We'll just look at something else while we wait for that. So I'll just briefly go back to the app. Yep, so another notification to see it's being processed. So I'll quickly just go back to our master data management app while we're waiting for that notification to come through. So we added a new SKU. We've got the ability to update an existing SKU. So we have a full search functionality. So you can see that one that I created there. We can edit the price and what category and section it's in. And we've also got the price book as well. And this is a read-only version, and so we can see all the products that are within our business. Again, we can do a search, so we can search for individual products.
Just
and then what we can also do
through that, guy, I've just got a question come through around sort of how this would potentially work on a tablet or a mobile device, and does it support offline mode? So say for instance I'm out in the field, I've not got very good signal, I've made a few changes into a power app, and then once I've regained 5G or I've connected to Wi-Fi, will it sort of resync and restore?
Yeah, so there's no, it's all SaaS based, so it's all in the cloud. So your interaction with it is via your browser. So if you have no connectivity, you can't interact with the application. It's just, yeah, there's no offline mode as such. With regards to tablet, if you can see on my screen, it's actually quite a reduced size. It's never full screen, and the reason for that is it's designed for tablets. So the whole development interface, it's as if you are always developing for a tablet screen. There's then the option to then you can do a mobile version, so you can do a specific mobile version of the application as well. So just on that Power Automate. So yeah, I can view all the different products in my price book, but I can double click one of those and that'll take me to even further detail about the product. So what my stock is, the description, what the current availability is, what's the next delivery, the specific barcode. So again, going back to what you said about having it on a tablet, if you had this in store and a product wouldn't scan, you could actually go into this on the tablet and actually scan this barcode at the till to make sure it goes through the till correctly. What you'll have seen then also is it brought through this data from Power BI. So rather than going and reinventing the wheel with bringing all this availability information and sales information into the Dataverse for Power Apps to use, we can actually just go out to pass a parameter for this particular SKU out to Power BI or look at the parameter, reduce the data for this particular SKU, and then bring that back straight into the Power App itself. So, fortunately, just back to the, I'm sorry, I've jumped around a little bit, but so just back to the uniform ordering. You can see there, I've got an email to say I requested this uniform, and I just have two buttons in there, approve or reject. So I can click approve, enter some comments, click submit, and then that'll trigger another flow to notify the employee that the uniform has been ordered, but also it'll send an email to the supplier to order that uniform and send it to the employee's address.
And I'm guessing that approval could be used for numerous things, such as travel expenses, holiday, annual leave, anything where you need a sort of approval process. It could be a very similar sort of way that the flow that would work.
Absolutely, and Microsoft actually, know that those are quite common themes, common things that businesses need. So there's a lot of pre-existing templates to perform those actions. So you don't even have to start building that kind of application from scratch. There's the template that you can just plug into your Office 365 environment, and off it goes and starts automating whatever process you want it to.
Cool. Just in the interest of time, I think we've got one demo left, haven't we? Yes.
Yeah, just one demo, yeah. So the uniform ordering, we've massively streamlined and automated the uniform ordering process. So instead of internal mail systems, we're using digital forms. Massive time and cost saving. So yeah, the uniform ordering process can be pretty much instant if the approval manager sees it straight away. Whereas before we were waiting for internal mails and phone calls and things like that. And then advanced tracking and communication. So now we've got, rather than pieces of carbon copy paper that's stuck in a filing cabinet somewhere, we've got the ability to bring the uniform ordering data into an analytics tool like Power BI, and then we can start actually seeing what's being ordered, where and how much it costs. So the last demo I've got is an accident reporting process. So original process, they manually log the accident. So walk downstairs with a clipboard and start filling out the details with a pen and a piece of paper and circling where the accident occurred and things like that. To get that data digital, the documents are manually scanned with a photocopier and then uploaded to the accident software. And then to be able to do any reporting on that data, we have to download the data from the reporting software, the accident software, into Excel for reporting. So Power BI can automate that, Power Platform can automate that. So we have the accident reporting system, save the data into the Dataverse. We can pass some of the data to Power BI so we can start doing analytics over the top of the accidents themselves. Also, we have a conditional Power Automate. So when a new accident is logged, if the severity is high, people around the business via the standard Office 365, or we can use this third-party API, which will send an SMS notification to whoever needs to know that a high severity accident has happened. So our accident app is Incidenta. So different options again, but this time we're going to go for a new accident report. And what you can see is we've got automatically generated an accident number. I can start filling out when the accident occurred, what the severity was, who was injured, and you'll notice there that I'm now an employee, so it's taken that from the new employee form and made it available in here. When I click my name, I get this little book here, which gives the emergency contact details that I filled in earlier. So that's just an example of that data being passed around and ready to use for other applications. Type of injury and break. I can put what location it's in, so we put warehouse 1. I can select the specific products, so we can do some reporting on what products within the warehouse are causing which problems. So I'm just going to select that one. And then an event description.
Should have been one of those sheds that you listed earlier.
Yeah. And then you notice I've got this on the right hand side. So I can then, so similar to circling this on a clipboard and a piece of paper, I can actually go through and select which areas were actually injured. So I click those 3.
So just on that, the colour there is amber, and obviously you've selected a severity high. Is there any way to sort of change those colours so that, say, for instance, a low one would be amber, a severe one would be red, etc., to sort of put some more severity on it?
Yeah, so for this, we're just logging the accident, and so it's a single use, a single example of an accident. But what I'll show in a second in the reporting is then we can actually create a heat map of where these accidents are occurring, so we can change the colours of those depending on where the most frequency is and the most severity is.
Cool.
So yeah, you notice I clicked on the hand there, and I can add hand detail. So then I can select specific parts of the hand to log that those fingers, that thumb and that palm has also been injured. Click submit, and then that's the stage 1 of the accident process complete. And again, this could be on a tablet, walking around a factory, or out in the field. Quick look at the Power BI dashboard. So you can see in my Climber dashboards, I've got the accident report dashboard.
And this is pulling the data from Fabric to actually feed this Power BI report.
From the Dataverse, yeah. So you can see on the bottom right hand of my screen, high severity accident has been logged, so I've been notified that that's happened. And then this Power BI dashboard pulls the data from the Dataverse, so all that accident information that we've gathered is pulling it all in here for reporting. Then to your point, so just standard reporting in here, but to your point, the heat map, we can see where the most injuries, which body parts have been affected by the most injuries, but because we're collecting that information as well. So for example, if I click on warehouse 2, because we've got the location and the product information, we can see, okay, where are the most injuries occurring at warehouse 2. So we can see here quite a lot of spine and back strains. So maybe it's a time for to run an extra manual handling course in that specific location.
And just on that, I know you mentioned that obviously this data is coming from Dataverse. We've got a question in the panel. Can you use other database technology other than Dataverse? So can you send it, say, for instance, from data collection outside of Dataverse and then report on it elsewhere?
Absolutely. Yep. You can send it to. You can use Power Automate to send it pretty much wherever you want, if that source accepts data in any way via an API or a direct insert or SFTP. You can send the data wherever you want to send it. Dataverse just makes it extremely easy to store the data.
And then can the Power Apps read data from other database systems?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. I thought they could.
So yeah, we clicked on warehouse 2, so then I can select a specific product. So I'm going to go for that one. So then we can see this specific shed is causing quite a lot of 47% of injuries have occurred have been strains, and we can see that's the back and the thighs, the abdomen. So we can say maybe we need to change this to be a 2-person lift rather than a 1-person lift, because we're getting quite a high lot of strains when people are trying to move this product. So quickly, because we're a bit short for time. So the ROI on that, rapid incident reporting. So very quickly, people throughout the business are notified that the accident has happened. You've got the incident with the instant alerts, and then you've got improved safety culture. So enhanced reporting capabilities make it easier to log accidents and incidents. The reporting capability helps prevent future occurrences. So as we saw there, we can make changes for specific products or specific places to try and reduce the number of incidents that are occurring there, and then you can ensure the compliance with the normal HSE RIDDOR legislation.
Perfect.
And that's it from me.
Well, I'm sure there'll be some questions for you to answer before we can let you go. But so I'll quickly run through just some pillars of these are the sort of service pillars that we operate through. I'll quickly cover these off, and then there is a couple of outstanding questions to answer. So hopefully we've got time for those. First one being on the far left, strategic advisory. This is where we would sort of take stock of the systems and investments that you've made, understanding your sort of use cases and architecture, and then working with you to sort of build the best solution. The solution development is more the physical building of stuff with our resource, or working with your teams and actually building a solution and rolling it out, testing it, and making it a production ready solution. User training, we deliver that through a number of ways. We have a Climber Academy where we run sort of dedicated trainer-led courses, and then we also offer sort of bespoke training where we come on site and do sort of one-to-one training, or even sort of knowledge transfer at the end of a project that we've delivered. Infrastructure services, probably not really relevant for a power platform as it's all SaaS, but there is a service that we offer where we can actually outsource all of your BI environment to us, and we manage it, host it, patch it, and run that BI environment. And then we also have our dedicated expert services team, which is a managed support desk where you can sort of raise tickets, escalations with dedicated SLAs in terms of the risk, and getting a response and hopefully a fix on any of those problems that are raised through the dedicated support channels. So in that sort of a quick high level overview of the sort of ways that we support our customers. But there is a few questions and we've got 5 minutes, so hopefully we can get these covered off for people. So the first one, just to jump back, sorry for this. Does Power Apps support, not this one, sorry, I've already said that with regards to scaling this one. It seems to, when I scroll, it jumps back to the top. Does the Power Apps scale automatically, like responsive design, or will you have to create apps for specific devices? So you've got an app for, say, a PC and then an app for a mobile phone?
So there's 2 different ways you can develop in landscape tablet mode, and you can develop it in vertical mode. So you do have to create specific ones for it will try and auto scale, but it doesn't do a very good job of it. But you can create 2 versions of the same app, but one specifically for mobile, and Power Apps detects that you've come into the application on a mobile, so it will show you that, or you can view it on a tablet or a laptop and it will show you the landscape version of the app. So yeah, it tries. There's still room for improvement on that one for it to automatically do it.
Yeah, so I guess once you know the use case, you would build the solution based on if it's going to be for a mobile device, if it's going to be used in an office environment, and you would sort of take that into your solution design stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. How to access data from database servers and systems on premise. Any additional data gateways or agents required?
Yeah, so generally if they're on-prem data sources, you can use Microsoft Data Gateway, which serves not only the Power Platform but also Fabric. So you may look at implementing maybe a staging post to get the on-prem data into Synapse Data Warehouse and then bring that into Power Apps via that, or bring the data, use Power Automate to drag the data via the data gateway straight into Dataverse, ready for use in Power Apps.
Cool. Coming in thick and fast now. So your experience with available connectors and involved costs in projects you made, considering that there are different types such as standard and premium connectors. Not sure what the question is. Your experience with available connectors and involved costs in the projects. I'm guessing in the demos that you've made and the projects that you've done.
Yeah, quite a lot of the stuff is there. The premium connectors, it does make life a lot easier to use the premium connectors. That's not to say we can't use. I think I did a connection into Unleashed a few weeks ago. So if you don't know, Unleashed is a SaaS-based inventory management tool. There is an Unleashed connector, which is paid for in Power Automate, but I was able to use the standard HTTP connector in Power Platform to do our own API code. So we have enough understanding of APIs and how they work to not have to go for the dumbed down, the easy paid for versions of those connectors that people develop themselves and then package up and sell on the Microsoft App Store.
Cool. So maybe that kind of links to this next question as well quite nicely. So in terms of licensing, what licenses are required to use the platform, and can users outside of your organization engage with the applications, or would they need to be licensed too?
So we touched, I'll answer the last point first. We touched on Power Apps and Power Pages. If you can think back to that first slide that I showed about what is the Power Platform. So Power Pages presents a way to publish a website for external users to interact with, and then that data will come back into your Dataverse and into your Power Apps environment. And what was the first point again, Alex? Sorry.
What Microsoft licenses are required to use Power Platform?
So you need a Power Platform license. There's various different tiers, as we just touched on there. So there's a premium, there's a standard tier and a premium tier as well. You get a lot more for your money. If you it's a lot more expensive, but you get a lot more functionality if you go for the premium. And then the different licensing tiers. So I'm not going to get into licensing too much because Microsoft licensing can be a little bit complicated, but you have either a per user, so you can pay per user. Last time I checked, it was $20 for a premium user, which is, if you have many different apps, it's quite value for money. Or you can have a capacity-based license as well. So we could, if you want to drop me an email and talk a bit more in depth about licensing, but it can get complex. So it's very specific on what use case you've got.
And I think with a lot of Microsoft stuff, there's always that low barrier to entry with most of it. And then as it grows, you can scale up and start to manage enterprise level costs. It all depends on where you want it to go, doesn't it? So I know we're just slightly over on time, but we've got one more question unanswered. So if we could squeeze that in before, I mean, if people do need to drop off, thanks for everyone who's joined and taking the time out of your day this afternoon. And I hope you all enjoy the Easter weekend as it's not long away. But the final question, Gareth, is there any limitations or cost impact on dealing with large data sets coming from on-premise systems?
You would have to go, so again, we'd have to look at a specific use case, if it's lots of rows or lots of columns. But yeah, there's no real limitation into the data that you can bring into the Dataverse. It depends what what your use case is and what you want to use it for. Power apps themselves, the performance will degrade if it's over huge data sets. So it's very much a look at the requirements. Maybe that data would be better to, rather than be landed into the Dataverse, you land it into a Fabric warehouse, and then you pull aspects of that out into into Power Apps as and when you need it. So you're leveraging different technologies that are better built for speed. A Fabric data warehouse is better built for read speed and reporting, whereas the Dataverse is more of an old school OLTP, so it's better for processing transactions in and out.
So you're basically breaking the data down into like a subset of data for the app. So you're streamlining the performance of that particular Power App rather than trying to read an entire huge source system.
Absolutely, but yeah, you can bring that. You can use. We've not touched on Fabric today, but Microsoft offering is Fabric, which is all to do with data and analytics. So you could leverage, the power of the Synapse data warehousing to pull that large data set across, and then plug Power Apps into that, and then leverage the speed that you've got there.
And maybe you've just teed up another webinar nicely there, Gareth, for Data Fabric.
Yeah, yeah. I'm all in Fabric at the minute. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I think that's all we've got time for today. We've managed to get through all of the questions, which is great. Any questions that haven't been answered, or if there's anything else that you would like to know around what's been discussed in today's session, please do either reach out to myself or Gareth, and we look forward to speaking to you all soon.